And most people are gonna look at you and say, I don't know, you tell me. And this is really important that you guys actually understand it. This is a whole other class. I have one recorded, I'm happy to give it to you. But the conversation you're gonna have with people from here on out has to do with pricing. You need to understand market trends and what they mean. Facts are facts. Whether or not they like it, this is the reality of the market. So you need to know this to protect yourself. Okay, so the third thing I want to ask you, and a lot of you are going to skip this question altogether, but don't. The third thing I want to ask you, having seen the information we sent over, maybe checked out our 5-star reviews online, have you already decided you would like me and my staff to help you with the sale? Just do it with me. Have you already decided you would like for me and my staff to help you with the sale? What do you think most people say to that?
I'm not sure. I gotta see what you have to say.
Exactly. I'm not sure yet, but I like what I'm seeing so far. Okay. Okay, and I get that. It is a big decision, not division. I just want to be clear though, and again, a lot of you are going to skip right over this, but you got to get comfortable with saying this, especially if you're dealing with what personality type. What personality type wants to hear this from you? A driver. A driver does not want a wimp in their living room. They want someone who's going to come right at them. Like Austin would not work with somebody who didn't ask him this. Austin is a classic driver. I just want to be clear though, that is my intention here today, to assist you to get top dollar for this home in a reasonable amount of time. So if you feel super comfortable and confident that I can accomplish that for you, I do have all of the paperwork here with me today. Fair? Okay, great. And now you want to go over everything in your pre-qual. Okay, great. So Dylan, you mentioned that you're moving to Colorado, is that right? And you said you have to move there because your job is moving you there?
Unfortunately.
You start your next job, or your work start date is July 1st, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to get to work quickly then. Be an actor, guys. Acting will always help you. Oh, we got to get started right away. And you said you have about 200 left on the mortgage, is that right?
Yes.
And there's no other liens, no solar panels, no window liens, nothing like that?
No.
Why are we asking that question?
Because that you might, like when you're going through that list, you might be able to be like, oh, I forgot that I got the fence down and I still owe the loan. I have a loan.
And you need to know how much equity is in the deal. Is anyone right now dealing with people who have less equity than their home is going to sell for?
So it's a short sale on Monday.
Yep. So do we maybe need to start skilling up on how to do short sales? And if someone in your office is a specialist in short sales, like Kevin Suber, can you then refer that listing, because there's very little people who know how to actually do that. So we need to know, we're asking that question about the mortgage and the liens, we need to know exactly what their equity is. Most people have good equity. You're going to say something like, great, excellent equity, we need to protect. Why are we saying we need to protect their equity? That's all they care about. It's literally the only thing that's important to them, is how much money they need to get out. And you were kind enough to share with me that in terms of the agent selection process, you were looking for someone who really knows your local market, they have a strong track record. Is there anything else that's important to you, Dylan? That question you guys should have answered in your pre-qual, so you should know exactly what they're looking for. And what else does it do when you repeat it to them? It shows you were listening to them. It shows you're already gonna be great to work with. So, anyone ever work in a restaurant? Yeah, well, just us. Usually there's one person who's like ordering and then the other person who's just sitting there pissed off or like wondering why no one cares what they want. I always talk to the other person because they're the one who usually says, give her a good tip, honey. Same thing. When you go to someone's house, maybe you've talked the whole time to the husband, especially ladies, you need to focus on the woman when you get there. Men, same thing. Maybe you've talked to the man the whole time, you need to focus on the woman when you get there, vice versa. You have to show that other person that you care about what they care about, otherwise you are not going to be picked. I don't care who says that they're in charge, both people own that home, both people care. So, other spouse, did I get all of that down correctly? Is there anything else you would like me to focus on here today? All right, great. So I'm perfectly clear on what you're looking to accomplish, and I'm confident we can help. The great news is we only have 2 more items to discuss. And you're going to touch your folder and you're going to touch your iPad. You're going to say, either the CMA or the seller's packet. Which would you rather talk about, the price or what you would get if you hire me? Everyone says the price. We're discussing the seller's package as be really, really careful about this. I know you're going to spend a lot on the agent you hire to help. Don't you want to know what you get for all that money you're spending? Because that's exactly what they're thinking. What do most consumers think about real estate agents? So you want to be very clear to call out exactly what they're thinking and show them something different. If you do that properly, it doesn't matter whether you're brand new or you sold 1,000 homes, you will get the listing every single time. It creates confidence. So the CMA is usually what people go to. The price. Okay, great. So I've gone ahead and I've prepared what we call the comparative market analysis. I'm sure you've seen one of these, probably a million of these from all different agents, and everyone has an opinion, right? I bet you're tired of seeing these by now. Anyone gone to a listing presentation where they're like, don't even show me the CMA? So why do we say that to them? We're calling it out. We know you're tired of this, but it's also something that has to be done. We have to pick a price. We are a team in getting this home sold. Write down the word team. Everyone say the word team.
Team.
If you treat your seller like a member of your team, they want to play with you. They don't want to play with the agent that they feel is against them. We are a team in getting this home sold. I prefer we go over this information together and discuss a strategy all of us will feel confident in. So generally, I spend about 2 to 4 hours studying both the macro and the micro data to really understand the local market. And then sometimes I even go and preview our competition just to make sure that I understand all the details that make your home better. Is that the level of attention you were looking for from the agent you hire to help? What did I just do there? At that point, they're kind of like, I have to hire. When you keep asking questions like this, they feel like they have to hire you. So Mr. and Mrs. Sellers, I wish I got paid the way that the weatherman does. No matter if he's right or wrong. But unfortunately, I only get paid for being right. You see, if you and I decide to work together on a property in this price range between paying my staff, advertising, media, I'm generally going to invest between $1,000 and $2,500. Do you think that I would be making a good investment if I was wrong every time I worked with a client? I genuinely do spend this money. Is anyone else starting? Well, you do your own content, but I'm a dinosaur. I need to hire somebody. Anyone else like investing in their listings? Does it hurt when you lose them? This is delivered a lot stronger when it's accurate, when you actually truly do feel hurt when you lose a listing. So maybe go out and lose a listing so you can know what it feels like on your next listing presentation. It stinks when you spent $1,000 on marketing. There's a home in New Jersey. This lady literally wanted a pro film crew. She had me hire these guys that were like $12,000. It's a $3 million home. And at the end of it, she was like, oh, you know what, I changed my mind, I don't want to sell. That was a pretty big lesson for your girl. I was brand new, I didn't pre-qualify, I just did whatever the seller told me to do. I think she was really looking for free marketing because she was an interior designer. But I'm glad I can share this knowledge with you so it never happens to you. Make sure you pre-qualify, make sure you understand what your seller wants. Okay, so do you know why that is? So after you sell them on why you're the best agent, you're gonna ask them, you know, has any other agent shown you this level of detail in a CMA? They're likely going to say no. Do you know why that is? Yeah, so generally most agents spend about $100 on photos. They stick their sign in the yard and that's all the risk that they take. Megan, is that generally true? So they're not too committed to getting your home sold, Mr. Seller. Do you feel that I'm committed to getting your home sold? Reselling the value again. We have to sell the sizzle, not the steak. When we look at this information, we have the difficult job of putting the buyer's hat on. And you're going to say, putting the buyer's hat on. What we need to think about is like ourselves, if we were going to buy this home again, what would we spend on this home based on what else is available? This is a really hard thing to ask people to do, to look at their price objectively. But we have to do our best. All right, so this is an actual CMA from one of my listings. So you pull this off of the MLS under Netris, like on the tabs. So I personally go in and mark it up with like a digital system. You can do it by hand, you can do it however you want. What you're gonna do is you're gonna ask them, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, based on what's available versus what recently sold, and you're gonna write this down. By the way, new people, write as many questions as you can so you don't get stuck or you don't forget. I still do it because sometimes we forget nuances, and It's a question that you're going to ask them. You can write it right on there. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, based on what's the amount of homes for sale, the green, versus the amount of homes that recently sold, the red, what market do you think we're in? Are we in a seller's or a buyer's market? And most people are going to look at you and say, I don't know, you tell me. And you guys are going to have to decide. So this is where your professional insight comes in. If there's 3 sold and 10 for sale, which market are we in? Buyer's market. If there's 15 sold and 1 for sale, what market are we in? Seller's market. If there's even amount, what market are we in?
Balanced.
Balanced or stable. And why does this matter? And what else about pricing? If you are in a buyer's market, can you be a little bit more aggressive and price it a little higher?
Yes.
No.
A buyer's market, no.
You need to price it actually a little bit below. So this is going to shape the conversation that you're going to have with people about price. And this is really important that you guys actually understand it. This is a whole other class. I have one recorded. I'm happy to give it to you. But the conversation you're going to have with people from here on out has to do with pricing. You need to understand market trends and what they mean. Again, I put the cheat sheet on here to kind of help them. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it looks like previously homes were selling at $192 a square foot. All the ones under contract right now are at $173, and the homes that are on the market and not selling are at $179. What do you think the market is saying about $179 a square foot? Louder.
Expensive.
Too expensive. That's right. So again, is this you telling them the price is too high, or is this them self-discovering? Yep. There's a saying that we had on Wall Street: you can't fight the tape. Facts are facts. Whether or not they like it, this is the reality of the market, and you're just being their friend and holding their hand through it. So overall, the price has slightly declined. Again, you write notes for yourself so you don't get stuck. Can somebody read this right here?
Can you zoom in?
If we want to beat the competition for a buyer, we will want to be priced slightly below the competitors' prices.
So usually they're reading this and kind of ignoring you, and they're going to come out with it and say, well, my neighbor's at 380. What do you think we should be at? And you say, well, let's go through it together. Okay, why is this important to us?
It shows, again, how they should position the property based off of what their goals are. If they want to be,
If you're taking 30-day listings and it takes 44 days on market to sell, did you just put yourself in a bad position? Yeah. So we need to know this for ourselves so that we can decide what kind of terms we want to agree to. If you're selling homes in a market where that says like 7 days, you could take a 20-day listing. If it says 90 days, you better get like a 4-month, 5-month listing. So you need to know this to protect yourself. And the way that you describe it to your client is, well, it looks like Mr. and Mrs. Seller that it takes people a little over a month to get a contract. Do you have that much time to get a contract? If Dylan just told me he's moving to Colorado, does Dylan have a month and a half to wait for a buyer? Well, Dylan, what do you think we can do to make one come faster? You see what I just did there? This shit is magic, y'all. This shit is fucking magic. And if you learn how to do it, it is a cash register that'll pay you the rest of your life. Okay, so days on market. What do you think this says about the market we're in? It looks like time on market is increasing. What do you think this says, Mr. Seller, about our local market? Is it improving or is it getting worse? This sets you up for if you need to ask for price reduction later. If the market continues to get worse, you showed him first. So you're going to go through everything that's sold. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, why do we care about things that sold? And what if we're able to trick a buyer into paying a little bit more because they're relocating and they just really like the house? What if we're able to trick them into spending more than it's worth? Why do we care about these? You have to get really good at explaining appraisals to people. Why?
because in a market that's shifting, like that can put them in a weird situation. And if they accept an offer that's over list,
If the home doesn't appraise and the home goes back on the market, who's the jerk? Is it you or is it the buyer? You. The seller, all the seller hears is that the deal fell apart and you're the leader in the transaction. If you don't discuss this with them beforehand, you're to blame. If you discuss it with them beforehand and they make the choice, this has happened to you, I think, who do they blame? No, themselves, usually. They say, well, you warned me, but I wanted to try. You have to understand how to explain appraisal value to people. I don't want to get too bogged down in this. I just want to give you guys the highlights. One thing that you're going to want to do you see how I write down like every little thing, like that home is smaller, it's the similar age, it's a different subdivision. Do you see how I write down every little detail and point it out? Why do we do that?
So that way, you're not just giving them data, you're giving them your.
What does every home seller say to you? But my home they had 4 bedrooms and I have 5. You're showing them that you paid attention, that you know that their home has 4 bedrooms and that one has 3.
Did you print the additional photos?
I don't. Sometimes if it's like a really similar comp, I'll go on like Zillow and show it to them and I'll say, hey, what do you think about their kitchen? Did you see that, I'll go through that. Again, I want to do this really quick. We want to write down, show them that we have paid attention to every detail so that they feel that you really understand their home. So then you're going to go through what the competition is. When you're describing competition, you're going to want to ask something like, that's so weird, Melissa. Why is your neighbor that has the same square feet, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, the same age as you, on the market for $40,000 less than what you want? What's wrong with that house? And what do you think usually happens with the seller? They don't have an answer. And they look at you like, oh my God, do you think 350 is too high? They don't want to admit it, but this helps them to understand. Let's say it together. Mr. Seller.
Mr. Seller.
What price?
What price
Do you feel we should use to create value in the eyes of a buyer and get someone to want to purchase our home versus the competition? I used to say this probably about 50 times over and over and over again in my car on the way to the appointment. This is the most important question you're ever going to ask a seller. What do you do after you ask it? Have you ever had a real long, real uncomfortable pause? I'm going to hear the swang, real long. Have you ever had one? Has anyone ever asked this question before? Have you ever had a very long, very uncomfortable pause?
Yes. Yeah. It's the most awkward thing.
Don't break it. Let them speak.
If it's 5 minutes before they speak, do you stay quiet?
You just look at right in the eye.
Ladies, I know that this is a little weird, but the first person to speak loses. You have to shut the F up. You ask that question, you stare at them, and you wait for a response. What do you think they usually say after that? Austin, what do they usually say after you ask them what price? Yeah. Well, what do you think? That is the common response. Well, Michelle and Dylan, your home is lovely. I can tell you've really taken great care of it. I'm just curious. It looks like the other homes in the neighborhood are on the market at $310,000 to $350,000. If you were a buyer and you went and looked at all these homes, what would you buy your home for? What are they usually going to say? $350,000. They're going to tell you whatever the highest point of the market is. Okay, fair. I do believe that your home is much nicer than the one on Dove Creek, but Dove Creek hasn't sold. It's just sitting. And you said you have to get to Colorado, right? You have to re-summarize their motivation and why they're even going on the market. You said you had to be in Colorado by July. The average time on market is 44 days. Yes, Dove Creek is not as nice as your home, but it hasn't sold. Do you think that we maybe need to be a little lower to entice buyers? Dylan, what would be the lowest you'd even take for this home?
I mean, I wouldn't go a cent below them because I know my house is better than theirs.
Why are we asking in this market, what's the lowest you would go? Why are we asking that specifically in the market that we're in right now? What is the lowest you would go? That is a very bold question. Why are we asking that?
Because the market changes and it allows us to for them to acknowledge that it changes.
You have to decide whether or not you want to take the listing. If you are in somebody's house and all the comps are clearly at 450 and they're telling you I won't go a penny before 500,000, you have a business decision to make. Is their motivation higher than their greed? Point blank period. Is their motivation higher than their greed? What are some real motivating factors? Name them. What are real reasons why people have to move? Divorce, relocation, death, debt, loss of job. So if they just tell you, well, we want to downsize, would you take that listing? Probably not. I wouldn't. But maybe as a newer person, it's great practice for you. Maybe you only spend $100 on the photo and talk to them about that. Hey, I'm not going to spend the normal investment I would, but if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. When you decide you want to reduce the price, we can spend more money on it.
Would you have a conversation with them, if they, let's say they would want to test it out for setting a timeline on that to do a reduction?
We had a conversation right then and there. he knew he was 100,000 overpriced. And I said, no problem. I'll give you your opportunity. I had him pre-sign a price reduction amendment for, I think it was 2 weeks after we listed it. And I would not take the listing without him signing that amendment. You know what else I do when I'm not really sure about a person? I make them pay for staging. They're gonna stop haggling with you over the stupid stuff. Oh, I have to pay my title policy. You know, all those stupid things, right? When they've spent money on staging, they're typically gonna sell. And that's a great way for you to figure out whether or not they're serious. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I have a connection with an excellent stager. Unlike everyone else, they'll allow you to pay out of the profit at closing. You don't have to pay up front. So that is one benefit I can give you. But if the home doesn't sell, you have to pay right away. Would you like to meet with them? So that's a tactic you can use if you're not sure. Bring the price reduction amendment, get them to pay for staging. Great question.